One. Hi there, it's Kevin with Deckbuilder.com. Little bit excited and exhausted, so if I do any weird stuttering or go off on rambles, you'll know why. I just got back from day two, well, not day two of the GP, but day two of the grinders, and I did it! I won my last grinder, so I was 1 for 4, and the last one we got there, and I did it with Soul Sisters. So let me just tell you a little bit of this. I talked about the first grinders that I did on Wednesday, which was I queued up with Soul Sisters and then switched to Skred Red. Well, I started off the day with Skred Red because it just looked like it was the deck to play. Faced off against a Storm deck, and I got extremely lucky against Storm, where I had double relics on game number. On game number 1, I was able to get off a 3rd turn Koth and actually out aggro him before he was able to combo off, which is awesome. And then game number 2, he slaughtered me with the Pyromancer's Ascension, and then he actually fought through 1 relic. And then game number 4, game number 3, yeah, we'll go to game number 4. Ugh. Game number 3, I was able to double relic, and it's very hard for any Storm deck to come back from a double relic draw. And I also was able to boil and Blood Moon him. So boil, Blood Moon, double relic was the end. So that was pretty cool. And then my next matchup was against Big Zoo, which is usually the easiest match in the entire world for Skred Red. But a double Geist on game number 1 got through and got me on. Game number 2, I was able to Blood Moon lock him out. And game number 3, he was actually lock me out with Stony Silence, which is incredibly tough for Skred Red to deal with. In fact, Morton, if you're watching, I think that's a card we're going to have to worry about is Stony Silence. There was literally nothing I could do against it. I guess the whole thing is that maybe you just don't need it at that point. But the cards I had on the battlefield at the time was a Batterskull, which he did have to double Lightning Bolt, I believe. Or, no, he had to use 2 cards to kill the Batterskull token. And then I was unable, I mean, this was way late by then. I could easily bounce to and played it again. And it ended up being the deciding factor with the Stony Silence and me stuck with a bunch of Pirate Spell Bombs and Mind Stones that I couldn't do anything with. So I'm thinking about maybe Skred needs some sort of enchantment hate, whether it be through Wear Tear or it be through some other sort of... I guess you could actually just go into green and splash for Destructive Reverie, and it kind of does the same thing Wear Tear does. Wear Tear can have that advantage of being able to kill 2 for 1 with the Wear Tear, kill an artifact and enchantment, which is always nice. But it doesn't seem like artifacts are the bigger threat with Skred Red. It definitely is some enchantments. Like Mark of Asylum is a card that I fear as a Skred player, as it says that creatures cannot take non-combat damage. So all of my cards basically cannot kill creatures. So anyway, Morton, let's find a solution to that. So I was pretty bummed out about that. Ended up, I was just going to be done with grinders. I mean, they're $25 a pop. I was already up to $75 in, and had a pretty poor showing. I mean, I got eliminated first round on one of the Skreds, and then second round with the Soul Sisters and the Skred. So at that point, I was 3 and 4 in, or excuse me, 2 and 3 in that. So ended up my buddy Zach was still in a late grinder, and they made an announcement saying they were doing the last grinder, and so I thought, what the hell, I'll go queue up for it. And first round, no joke, and this is why I'm so tired, was Norwin the Wary versus Soul Sisters. Yeah, that's worse than Soul Sisters versus Soul Sisters, because at least in Soul Sisters versus Soul Sisters, there's like a finite amount of crap you can put out, amount of tokens you can put out, both players, not 2 Genesis Chambers. But what got the job done is I was able to get a Ranger of Eos pretty quickly and get both my Serra Ascendants, and he had no way to block them, and they were coming in for a 24-point life swing, and it still took an obscene amount of turns to grind him down. He was actually grinding me down with a Perforos and a bunch of tokens and giving them +2/+0. But I had 2 Soul Sisters out. He had 2 Soul Sisters out, so we were both gaining like 4 life off of every. I was actually net up the Perforos activation, so it was crazy how much life I was just gaining off his stuff, and that my brain is so fried. I mean, it's one thing on MTGO with a mirror, but keeping track in Paper Magic where the computer doesn't, you don't have a computer, so you have to do everything by hand was insane. Like, I can't think. I don't even know how I'm doing this. Anywho, and it actually led to some misplays later on. Match number 2, I went up against Grixis Delver, and I got him game number 1 with the main board ARG champion. We both had to mull, but he had to mull to 4, and I just mulled to 6, I believe. And then game number 2, he crushed me with a double Delver draw. So first turn Delver, and then flip, and then second turn. It was like third turn, I believe, he got a Delver, but he was able to bolt off a Soul Attendant, and then he's ground me out with the double Delver draw. But third turn, I was able to have a lot of like secure the wastes and spectral processions and all that, and he actually did do a first turn Delver flip again. But at that point, it just couldn't hold up with my aggression with the Soul Sisters and me gaining so much life. I think he had me down to 11 at one point and had a Tassiger, which is really, really scary. But a Secure the Waste was able to come in and just overwhelm him with another pure. So round number 3, I believe I was going up against I have no clue. Oh, Splinter Twin. I went up against Splinter Twin in round number 3, and my opponent, I think, was more tired than I was because I cast a suppression field, and he had a fetch land out, and he didn't respond to it. And so first turn he beat me with the twin. He had the natural twin turn 3, Deceiver Exarch into turn 4 twin. And then game number 2, I was able to get that suppression field, and he just didn't crack his lands, and then he noticed the suppression field like it turned down after playing another fetch land. So he had 2 fetch lands on board that he actually couldn't crack, and that was just an easy lockdown. I think he had a total of 4 fetch lands by the time he found his second shock land that he could actually start activating to crack his fetch lands to try to get any sort of mana. And I actually had like a Dirtle draw, but the suppression field was like onto the pure suppression field, and I played 2 Pride Mates with no Soul Sisters, and they both got bolted with the 1 mana source he was able to activate. But it was still, by that point, Delver doesn't... I think the Soul Sisters a lot of times has the advantage the later the game goes, because then I can establish... Like, he can start 2 for 1-ing with Electrolyze or 3 for 1-ing with Electrolyze, but I can also start getting 3 cards for 1 out of, like, Ranger of Eos. And so I can keep up the tempo with Delver. Or, excuse me, with Twin. And then... next game was against Jund, and I had the main board Arc Champion. He had the main board Olivia, and Olivia actually got the job done. I couldn't find a path. He'd actually made me discard a Path to Exile with a Liliana. And then basically the board state was I had him down to 1 life and just couldn't get past that last bit of damage to Olivia before she started taking over the board, and lost that one. Second game, I was able to... I can't even remember how I won second game, but it was pretty quick. It was pretty much... oh, it was an Honor the Pure, and then a bunch of Spectral Possessions and Return of the Ranks. And then game number 3 was a really weird one. We both mulled, and then he kept a really loose 1-lander, and then he missed his land drop on 2 turns. It allowed me to get established, get in for some damage. And it was a really, really rough match because he had a bunch of Goyfs. I was swinging over top of the Goyfs. I had blockers, but I think he had 3 Goyfs, a Scavenging Ooze, and a Tassiger out. But I just kept pulling like Rangers and Secure the Waste, and I basically played the Empty the Warrens like strategy that you play against Jund to say, hey, I have more tokens, you can keep killing 1 per turn, but I'm going to get through that, 4 or 5 per turn, and eventually your life total is a finite thing in Jund. And that's that. So the last matchup was against Goblins, which is probably the easiest matchup in the world. And I screwed up big time in lost game 2 because I forgot a trigger. But he was able to skull crack. I think double Goblin Grenade and double skull crack was what actually got me in the Goblins match. But game number 1, I had triple Arc Champion, because I do mainboard the Arc Champions. That's my version of Soul Sisters plays mainboarded Arc Champions. And was able to draw... I had 1 in the opening hand and draw 2 more off the top. And then game number 3, it was an Arc Champion into a Ranger of Eos. Like, I had like a slow hand, but it was second turn Arc Champion. And then I was able to play like a... I think it's Sarah's Ascend I did play, and then chump block something. And then Ranger, and then play some more Soul Sisters and just stabilize. And it was... he kept trying to bait me to block with the Arc Champion. I knew he had a Skull Crack in hand. but I wasn't gonna have it at that point. So at least I had enough consciousness not to follow that trick. I mean, I've played against Skullcrack so many times with Soul Sisters. I know that if you block with Arctic Champion and they Skullcrack in response, the damage is not prevented from the protection from red. So if you're Soul Sisters players, keep that in mind. Tarka's Command and Skullcrack. Never block their Arctic Champion. It just keep getting the life gain out of it. So end up winning the grinder, and pretty good day altogether. Like had a good talk with Rich from Gathering Magic. He has some really cool ideas for the community. I am totally on board. I'm going to spend a lot more time building the community and just really upgrading my channel. So I appreciate all of you that stuck with me for these past 2 years through my kind of hiatuses, my where I've gone on to other things and then come back, and appreciate the support too. Speaking of support, talked to a lot of the vendors, got a lot of numbers of like different vendors, and I'm really interested in what you guys would like as far as product wise. People in the past have mentioned shirts. Yeah, we're gonna look into that for sure. Playmats, I still have a nice relationship with Ink Playmats, but actually some other people reached out to me as well to see if I could maybe go through them. I talked to some other talked to Legions about deck boxes and some other things, and they seem pretty cool, pretty interested in figuring something out that works for me. And I really want to know what you guys would be interested in, what you would buy that would help support the channel. Because I mean, just hanging around Rich from Gathering Magic and his high-tech camera and his high-tech sound unit, and you'll get to see that. He's going to cover me tomorrow if I'm actually not a zombie tomorrow. So I mean, it's just very high quality stuff, and that's kind of the direction that I want to take the Rogue Deck Builder. I really want to do this at a higher capacity. This is very fulfilling to me to go around and meet the fans and just interact, and I think I kind of found what I like to do, and it's a great feeling. If people have known my history, I've dropped out of college 3 times in the past, and finally finished my last one in psychology, but it's kind of a useless degree, like literally a useless degree, and a lot of hoops to jump through. And when I joined psychology, I really wanted to make a difference, and then really figured out that that's probably the last field in the world that you can actually make a difference. I mean, you're basically a glorified babysitter for quite a while, and then when you do get your LCSW, well, first of all, I went the wrong route to go in like a licensed clinical social worker, plus I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to do research and work with people, but not through a clinical setting, and there just was no opportunity in psychology, and it was really a bummer, because I still love people, I still love helping people, I still love interacting with people. And I do like the science behind it and the research behind it. That's why I'm a huge personality theory nerd. And that's why I actually love Magic the Gathering, is it gives me that outlet to meet people and interact with people and have a good time with people, and also express my creative outlet. So thank you to everyone involved in the community. It's just been overwhelming, the amount of people that have come up and said hi to me and that they love the channel. And thanks, guys. I really needed this, and there's more to come in the future. I think that I positioned myself well to get the community growing as far as the Rogue feel and just the YouTube community in general. We have a lot of great people in it now that are doing a lot of great things, and I'm really looking forward to working with them and growing. And yeah, so suggestions, comments, whatever. I promise you I'm not drunk. I'm just incredibly tired. So I've got my McDonald's. Woo! The only thing that was close on the strip here in Las Vegas. So I'm gonna look forward to diarrhea in the morning from great McDonald's food. But 14 minutes in, I've rambled. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.